The NFL draft is so close now, you can almost feel it. Tyler's down to his last two big board drafts, which means we had to get back in the best ball streets on Underdog for one last time before next week's Best Ball Mania launches. Tyler, with only two drafts left to go, how are you feeling about the portfolio you've put together on early best ball drafts?
You know what? All things considered, I'm feeling pretty solid, which means I'm going to get absolutely housed this year by week 4. But no, I feel pretty good how we kind of played it early on. I feel nice about how I've kind of tried to been playing week to week, month to month with how things are shifting. Very few regrets in all honesty, because at the end of the day, I think if you're just kind of playing it with news, you're less likely to get burned than taking big stands, just on an oasis with vibes.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like we've had such a good couple of months in terms of gaining information. We've had such a good couple of months in terms of breaking down these rookies, whether it's with the content that Rich's been pumping out on this channel or whether it's stuff coming from elsewhere. Like I truly love this time of year. For me, once it gets past the NFL draft, that's when things tend to ramp up for me. Like the last couple of months have been quite casual. I haven't been drafting as much on my own. We've done a bunch of drafts. We've obviously drafted a lot on stream. But once the clock ticks over and it goes into full draft season, that's when things really kick up a notch. But the last couple of months for me have been so much fun. It feels like things have changed so dramatically since we first started these. Like, is there any one particular take that stands out that makes you think, I wish I'd known that all along and could have hammered that
I
players
mean,
prior
I think
to
there's
a move
just the one
cheaper?
that stands out. It's Travis Hunter opens up at like the 180s, the 170s. And now his ADP is 74, 75, something like that. And, I've capitulated. I've said, you know what? Early on, the NFL, the people I trusted the NFL, Daniel Jeremiah, etc., were telling me, hey, very few people think he's a true two-way player. A lot of people are like saying, I like his talent at cornerback. I don't want to mess with it. There was all this, quarterbacks might go 1, 2, 3, a lot of trades up and downs, a lot of volatility early on. And so I said, well, you know what? Let me bank what I know and what we can hang our hats on. And then shout out to Rich, who, in his first early mock draft said, I'm taking him 1-on-1. I want to trust the talent, yada, yada. And, that take is aged like fine wine. The Browns, it seems 1 through 3 are all set. And it seems like the Browns are going to take him at 2. They value him as a playmaker. They obviously need all the playmakers they can get without a true quarterback option on the roster and that albatross of the Watson contract looming above them. So, all in all, you wish you had a big bag of Travis Hunter, outside the top 100. And hell, even for that few weeks before Pete Overzet's Deposit Kingdom video was released, where, hey, you should be hammering him in the 100s, the 110s. So I feel like that's the one thing, you look back and you go, that's a clear regret. But outside of that, I think playing information instead of getting out over my skis, and both of us combined going through those slows and who's fragile, who's not, and what are these teams really going to do. I think for the most part though, those things stand out, that you're going to have a couple of misses, but your portfolio seems solid, because even now I feel comfortable saying I'm not worried about the price so much, because at this point 10 months from now there's going to be so much changing that just having him on your roster is going to be a good thing if he's the guy you need. And we always see that the risers never rise high enough in Best Ball Mania. So even if, I'm not going to bulk at the Hunter price, because until he gets in the top 3 rounds, it's not prohibiting me in the finals, much like Rizzy Pearsall last year, not mattering until the last few weeks, was not prohibitive to those teams that had him.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really important is, like, if we're sitting here a week from now and Kirk Cousins is there, and suddenly you've got a quarterback who you think can be more competent, then maybe it changes the equation. But yeah, slam Jamar Chase with the 101, rounding out best ball season with the influence of 101. But like, maybe if they do some of a quarterback position which really changes things, then maybe we do see that move. But I think there's still going to be so many question marks about that role and on that team that it is keep things suppressed enough where I think that we're going to find him as a value. Because what really feels obvious at the minute to me is that you get to about round 4 and it's just the question mark tier. Whereas last year, okay, you've got a few question marks in there, but it felt like last year we had more guys that we felt confident in, and perhaps that again changes by next week when ADP is being set in Best Ball Mania, what, 6? Whereas now, I really hate the fourth round at the minute.
Yeah, it's I I know the pockets that are going to shift the greatest because they're the pockets of the draft we all hate. We get to those stretches and we go, I don't like any of these players. I don't like anyone here, and I can make the case to reach 10, 20 picks, and it doesn't change my vibes. And then those players end up dropping 10, 20 picks on a regular basis. So, we're going to see a lot of that solidify, and then it's going to change again when the schedule comes out, and then it's going to change again when we get the littlest bit of news in training camp, and inevitably our first couple of injury nuggets.
Do you think anything is going to happen in the next week which could change the first round?
I expect Genty to jump into the first if he gets selected to one of these nut landing spots. Even the Raiders just confirming he's going, in the top 6 as the workhorse guy. And then depending on which team he goes to in the top 10 or 12, is going to dictate how high into the first he goes on a regular basis. Brian Thomas, I could see if Tech McMillan, joins the Jags, I could certainly see the market that was already letting him kind of slip to the back half, and even sometimes in the second round go, see, I told you he's not the wide receiver one.
Exactly.
And you could see a guy like CMC. San Francisco doesn't draft any running backs, and the crowd that comes in for BBM6 says CMC round 1. I'm draft. So those are the types of guys I could see. Malik Neighbors, I think his ADP, people are very excited about him. But if his quarterback truly is just Russell Wilson going into week 1, because we already got told, Dayball said, hey, Russell Wilson's taking the reps at 1 to start us off. So, you're going to get that FUD about, Russell Wilson doesn't really target the middle of the field and yada, yada. Things like that could certainly shift and change. It's just the comfiest clicks will find themselves in round 1, and any sort of competition will make that feel less solidified for sure.
Yeah, I feel like Puka Nacua is somebody I could see dropping a couple of spots if the Rams traded Matthew Stafford. Like, Matthew Stafford still hasn't agreed to a new contract, has he? There's still some fragility there. Like, the Rams said they would get sorted and that they were kind of happy to run it back another year, but the Rams aren't afraid of making a big move. Like, if they traded Matthew Stafford and decided to go in on a rookie who they saw something special on, I could see him dropping 2 or 3 spots behind other wide receivers, perhaps, but definitely not past maybe pick 11 or so. But like, if you're with us in the chat, let us know if you've got any kind of takes on that first round and what you think could change there. CMC just feels like somebody that I'm fine clicking mid-second round, but I just really don't want to take him any higher than that. And even Derrick Henry, I feel like, so much of it is touchdown related. And, when it comes to Ravens, I'm as biased as anyone with my takes for them. But I just feel like there's a fragility there that is not what I'm really looking for in running backs. But I'll probably have more exposure to those guys this year than I would have a year ago if the situation was the same, simply because we all got toasted last year. But part of that just makes me think this is the year for a great zero RB bounce back with this rookie running back class. There's going to be so much potential for them to come on long down the stretch. But I mean, I probably would say that. Tyler, we're about to be back up on the clock for the turn. Nothing too crazy in this first round. Like, I feel like we've had some pretty consistent conversations about this group of players. The next turn's going to be a lot less fun for us. But where do you kind of land with this? Like, Bucky Irving maybe falling slightly, Trey McBride obviously sitting there right on the turn, along with T. Higgins, who we've taken a bunch of. We can go for the Bengals mega stack if we wanted to, but where's your lean?
I mean, I love explosive players that, crush on efficiency, and if they get any more volume, could absolutely break fantasy. That's your Bucky Irvings, who just goes. I think Trey McBride's an auto click here, as just his target volume's elite. It gets, you take care of a onesie, it opens up a stack. And so at this point, I think it's just between, do we want to do the Cincinnati thing? Do we want to load up on DJ Moore, who has a very clear rollout with Ben Johnson? Rome and he will, rotate inside and outside. And if Caleb Williams gets more accurate and the offense gets more consistent, DJ Moore could be a smash, or just changing it up if we want to go into a buying into a year two player. I'm lower on the JSN and Wilson guys simply because of the fragility of their quarterbacks and their offensive environments.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right pulling somebody up if you want to. Trey McBride was the one player I really wanted on that term, but if you want to pull somebody up and you like them more than T. Higgins, I'm fine mixing that up at this point in the 149th of your big board drafts.
Yeah, I think DJ Moore. I'm trying to load up more on him simply because I don't think the market. And I think Corain touched on this, and Pete as well last week when they were doing their stream roundabouts. I don't think the market's truly adjusted as much as it probably should. That Keenan Allen hasn't returned to Chicago, isn't likely
Yeah.
to return to Chicago. It's really going to be building through youth at this point, and Rome is not the only player that can benefit from the scheme improvement. Ben Johnson kind of confirms he views both of these guys as versatile weapons. Talks about how scheme is not, the Amon Ra role was created for Amon Ra, and he's going to create roles for these two pass catchers. And so, DJ Moore thrived, on efficiency with a worse quarterback situation. As bad as if Caleb Williams doesn't get demonstrably better, well, the scheme will. And we've seen DJ Moore pop on just frantic efficiency plays with a worse quarterback in Fields. And, as bad as Caleb was, he wasn't nearly as bad of a passer down to down. So I want to make sure that not every single one of my Jamar Chase teams has no DJ Moore attached to it, considering he's a guy we've seen with, 3 and 4 touchdown upside, elite target and efficiency metrics. And, when we start accounting for expensive pieces getting boosts, I don't think we've done that consistently across the board. Certainly for how good this offense can get, not just from an O-line perspective, but they're about to add more talent to this. And if it takes away from anyone's opportunity, I don't think it's going to be more, considering how he's been able to dominate in every offense, from a targets and efficiency standpoint.
Yeah, I think, your point about the offensive line is the key one for me. Like, I just think that people want to talk about, oh, well, if the Bears get Ashton Genty falling to him, does that mean that they don't have any trust in Caleb Williams? No, I think that's nonsense. I think it's much more that they're looking for an overall better offense. Like, when you've got an overall better offense at every option, then it can help even guys like Jared Goff look particularly good. So, yeah, I've got no concerns, particularly with Caleb Williams. I do want to shout out Cody, who had his 12-hour stream over the weekend, which, like, I checked in and out of that a few times. It looked like an absolute blast. So if you haven't already, go and subscribe to his channel because the man is making moves. Jaden Daniels, QB2 off the board, not on my rankings, but I will have my rankings out next week, probably by Tuesday or Wednesday or so. Tis the time, the point of the calendar where need some rankings out there. Can't be drafting off vibes all the time. But yes, how are you feeling about Chase Brown at the 402? He's falling.
I've seen him fall closer to the end of the 4th and the 5th. So, it's fine. I still don't, I talked about this with Cody, who's a Cincinnati Bengals fan. I talked about this with Joe Goodberry, who follows the team religiously. And, I just,
maybe a little too religiously at times.
Probably a little too religiously, but it is so, I don't know what to do with it. I don't, because what the team is saying doesn't make that much sense. But
the Bengals aren't. Yeah, sorry. The Bengals aren't a team. They're not a team who you tend to get good bits of information like that out of. Like, you get the stuff like the T. Higgins, Jamar Chase extensions felt like it was coming at times, but there's so often where you have no idea what kind of direction the Bengals are going to go in the draft. Like, it's not like the Steelers where every year we seem to know the Steelers pick about 4 or 5 weeks in advance. The Bengals, like, quite often are a bit of an enigma to me. But anyway, Rashi Rice rolls on after James Cook, who still doesn't have a contract. Breece Hall in the 4th round feels like one which could end up being a potential value, but I know I get why people are down on him. I've got him in a couple of dynasty leagues and was considering trading him as part of a rebuild, and for now I'm just holding because the value doesn't seem there. We're about to be back on the clock. Rome Odunze, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, George Kittle, DK Metcalf. The layup picks here obviously would probably be Rome Odunze and then to go Joe Burrow if we wanted, but like Jalen Hurts, like ahead of Joe Burrow feels quite an easy pick. I mean, I don't mind leaning towards the stack, but there's nobody massively after this range that I particularly love. This is the kind of area where Ted McMillan is a good play, and then you get down into taking real dart throws. Tyler, what's your lean?
I think Rome definitely gives us the bailout stack if we want to push Joe Burrow, knowing that we have Caleb Williams double stack covered. So
I'd be
I think
fine with that.
I'm with you on the Rome pick. And now it's just, do we want to make sure we have, at least one quarterback stack investing in Joe Burrow, or do we want to take potentially an RB that's now going in round one 75% of the time, or another receiver here to pair with our 0031 start?
Well, why don't we go with the rookie running back
I was hoping you'd say that.
says you've been telling me that we need to do this for a while. Once we've done that, we'll just hit this.
Oh, it feels so good to have highlights and player clips. Tom crushing it behind the scenes with these. I'm so excited to get to roll clips on players in drafts now and on draft night. Tom, great job. It looked great.
Yeah, cheers, man. No, I mean that's why, like this point of the year for me, I always enjoy being able to sit back a little bit more, let Rich do his thing, and just concentrate a bit more on the editing process and stuff and the footage sing. But why don't you tell the people what it is you've got planned for Thursday night? Because obviously the NFL draft's happening, but the real story that's right here on the Fantasy Sanctuary.
Fantasy Sanctuary is hosting its own NFL watch party, folks. So Thursday night, the entire draft. I will be humbly hosting multiple guests. We've got several in the chat with us: Pat Fantasy Dog Pound, Cody, PPR Tyler, Best Ball Guy, Chris Candyman, and a few other fun special guests have been invited to come on. Pop in and out, real chill, real normal bar style of just react to the picks. And every player that's a skill player, we're gonna roll their highlights and their player clip, and it's just gonna be a banger of a time. I'm very much looking forward to watching with a bunch of fellow sickos that have way too much skin in the game and money on the line for these players, and we're gonna get to react real time, give our takes, give our thoughts, and I know it's gonna be a blast. So really looking forward to several hours of awesome NFL draft watch party here on the Fantasy Sanctuary.
Yeah, I doubt I'm going to be watching. This is probably the first year I've not watched Draft Live in a few years, mainly just because in about 2 weeks' time I'll be moving house, and there's just simply too much shit to do when the draft doesn't finish till about 5:30 in the morning my time, and my kids are off school. So it would be a particularly painful day for me, but I will definitely be. I might try and sync it up so I can watch the two in tandem the next day over me cornflakes.
Yeah, it'll be good. And so to talk about our Henderson pick just for a moment, he's gone from maybe sneaks into the back end of the second of the first round, priority second round pick, to now he might go to the Bears, he might go to the Broncos. We know a few teams in that first round love him. We've just gotten a list confirmed from Schefter that like 8 teams want to trade back. Several teams are hot and heavy to trade up, and they view Henderson's ability in the pass game to be so much kind of like Gibbs, of like he affects the pass game. He's not valued as just simply a running back in a flat tier of the first round. So first round running backs, we've talked about it with Hampton, who was mentioned in chat, as I don't know if he makes his way into the first round after getting first round capital, but we're getting smoked that Henderson might be the RB2 off the board and not Hampton, but we expect 3 running backs in the first round: Hampton, Genty, and Henderson. Well, if we expect that, then the value of Henderson then is that, we should be taking him much, much higher to close out. He's a guy I just haven't gotten a lot of, because until a couple weeks ago, I just liked a lot of the area of the pockets and the construction of my teams. So someone I want to make sure I have him with different sets of guys. He's typically going on the other side of the board. So I want to make sure that that's not the case. And I think the running backs that go after him are very fragile with the guys they've already brought in to share the load of that room, the contracts that they have, the incentives these teams have, and then guys that could lose value if any of their teams take a running back in the top 2 rounds. Henderson can leapfrog all those guys and potentially up into that 2-3 turn, depending on if he goes in the top 12, top 15, with a nut landing spot, and his pass involvement is really powerful. And we get a Bears stack if the Bears do just say, hey, this is our new, explosive back in our two-headed backfield. So it just feels good to get a round one running back rookie on this team as our anchor running back.
Yeah, it was a bit of positive pop for DeAndre Swift in ESPN's article today about overdraft was they've been hearing that they like the idea of having a 1-2 dynamic with DeAndre Swift being part of that. Whereas like there was definitely plenty of rumors that DeAndre Swift could be, moved on, gotten out of town because, DeAndre Swift's DeAndre Swift. But I do think that whoever comes in as a rookie has a chance to really take 60% of that role, 70% of that role by the time it really counts for us in best ball quite easily. And I mean, I am a bit of a DeAndre Swift hater, but DeAndre Swift also leaves enough of an opportunity out there for other players to get it. Like you look last year and he did not have the goal line work. We're back on the clock. James Conner, Quinton Judkins, Ricky Pearsall, Travis Hunter. I mean, are we just going with the Cope pick and taking Travis Hunter now because we didn't 6 weeks ago?
Cope now, cash later. That's what I always say, Tom.
Let's do it.
Ricky Pearsall, James Conner, Quinshon Judkins, or another receiver of this ilk. Do you have a strong?
I'd lean towards Ricky Pearsall. I think that he's possibly still a little undervalued. Like today, we heard that George Kittle's unhappy because him and the team are miles away on contract extension. He's going into the last year of his deal. And while I expect that they will get that figured out, I just think that Ricky Pearsall is probably going to end up being quite a good player this year.
Yeah, and at minimum, if he has a healthy full offseason, Kyle Shanahan noted that when talking about the team, Ricky was given his flowers for being able to come in after missing so much time and pick up what he was able to pick up and execute pretty well. If he, stays healthy with his shoulder and hamstring injuries, coming into this offseason, he's going to be able to get integrated even further. And especially if they're missing Kittle out there for past installments, I do expect them and Stafford and the Rams to get their contract settled. It's obviously San Francisco just trying to get, hammer out the least offensive deals for their bottom line as they kind of shift and retool contractually here to fit Purdy and Kittle, under the cap in the way they're going to do. But that's also by refocusing to these younger guys who are under contract to get them involved and really pop. And, attached to a good OC and a good G. I want to take players on good teams to outproduce their ADPs.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody coming in who's necessarily going to threaten Ricky Pearsall this year as well. Like they've got so many position spots that they need to concentrate on, like the offensive line, the defensive line. Those are real issues for them that need solving immediately if they're going to get back to where they want to be. Like somebody like Shanahan doesn't want to be missing out on the playoffs, doesn't want to be scraping into the playoffs. Like, they lived dangerously enough when they had Jimmy G there. And now I think they really need to be maximizing the last of this window with guys like George Kittle around before you go into the next era. So, yeah, I'm very much kind of bullish on Pearsall, very much bullish on Juwan Jennings. Like, Brandon Ayuk has been a difficult click for me because I think it's just so difficult to project when he's going to be back, what he's going to look like. Is he going to look piss poor like he did last year, even before he was dealing with the knee injury? So, yeah, I'm happy to just take the cheaper guys at the minute in Jennings and Pearsall and hope that they stick as wide receiver 2 and 3 with stronger seasons to start the year.
And I'd also venture to say that, this is an offense that figures out how to use and utilize versatile, explosive players. Debo and Mason both leaving open up opportunities for Pearsall and we kind of already saw this with Jennings' evolution last year from a slot only 11 personnel guy to then being utilized as an X receiver. You mentioned with Ayuk return, this offense has every incentive to become as versatile as possible and to utilize as much yak and deep attacking that is available. And more time to get integrated to become versatile is going to help. And also, I don't know how much they can allocate towards the defense, to really shore that up, considering rookies, you can't count on a bunch to contribute early and often. And they certainly can't afford as a team really to put too much along the defense outside of D line. So this could be an offense that's a little sneaky towards shootouts than they were used to. We kind of saw glimpses of that last year with how they were as a team, and that shootouts benefit the offensive players. And again, first round draft capital, year two guy. He's one of the cheaper year two guys we've seen, especially after having a pretty solid end to the season. You never want to discount that, certainly when they're attached to good quarterbacks and good offenses.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. Tony Pollard going there in the 8th round. That's a pick which I'm kind of a bit more open to now than I was at points. The running back landscape's one that I keep coming back to. Like, I think that last year there was always talk about, like, is the running back dead zone dead? Does it even exist anymore? And I think that this year we're going to see a much more traditional kind of look. Like last year, everybody got ahead of their skis on where wide receivers were going. Like, we all kind of accept that now, despite wide receivers not failing quite as hard as some people might have made out. But I think when you look at this year's running back dead zone, there's going to be some massive success stories and there's going to be some massive failures. So I look at where it is now, and I'm going to be really intrigued where it is a week from now. But there's less guys that I feel strongly about being bad picks than there probably was at this time last year. A couple of picks away, QBs in the queue for us. Kyler and Caleb, who do you feel better about? Kyler last week saying that he wants to run the ball more. Do you believe him?
I mean, it matches up that, he understands he's been piss poor 4 years in a row at, you know, the deep passing game, and this offense is very much more geared towards rushing efficiency, and it's easier to pick up, 10 yards scrambling than it is hit he's been pretty bad 10 yards down the field plus. So it makes sense to just keep the chains moving and not stall out as an offense if his deep ball is going to be as poor. But he's also a year removed from the ACL that he was returning from, and we see the players get more and more comfortable returning back to their previous form. So I'm good with double tapping quarterback here. We talked about we're okay passing on Burrow for both mobile guys. We get both guys both stacked up. This feels like a nice 1-2.
Good with that. How much are you gonna miss for 20 rounds when things launch next week if it goes back to the 18 rounds that we traditionally see with Underdog?
I am going to have at least one draft where I'm punting running back too far and I go, oh shit, I don't have 2 more rounds to make up with dog shit fake running back darts that give me fake cover to catch back up. Frankly, I'm okay because I feel like I've rarely had to make tough decisions, and I hear this critique about the 20th rounds where it's like you can kind of build however you want to build, and you're not really punished. And I like 18 rounds because every pick matters because it dictates how your roster is going to turn out, and playing the room becomes even more pertinent because you get punished for punting on one position or the other, or trying to play the room, a little too tightly or a little too loosely.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, the majority of my drafting is on sites where it's 20 rounds. So whenever we jump into 18 round drafts, it takes me a bit of an adjustment. And there's players who I would routinely draft in 20 round drafts where you just, if you want to draft them, if you want to pull them up, then it really comes at the expense of people who have much more secure roles. So it should be fun when we kind of get to that next week. In terms of 20 round drafts, though, we're going to be pumping out a good bit of drafters content this year. Definitely myself and Tyler both will do some together. We'll do some solo drafts. I'm also going to be doing some FFPC drafts, particularly in the Suplex contest, which I came pretty damn close to taking down a couple years ago. Time to run that back. And I don't know, maybe Tyler, if we get desperate, maybe we'll straighten to DraftKings if you can remember your password, but definitely no DraftKings for me this year.
I guess I'll have to go uncover a rock where I kept all my unwanted site passwords tied towards. I do want to just note we got a weird pick here. This 3-hole draft, you're kind of just doing what they want to do. They get a Juwan Jennings fall, but they snap pick CJ Stroud and Tyler Warren ahead of ADP, attached to their Barkley, McLaurin, JSN picks. I guess when you've got Joe Mixon, you got to reach for CJ Stroud, lock up that quarterback, running back.
Well, those dumb puffs.
Many are saying Stroud Mixon is the new Barkley Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few calibers of offensive line in between the Eagles and the Texans currently, but maybe that's the thesis that there's going to be so little offensive line. Every play is just going to be a dump off to Joe Mixon. So interesting, you know. Hey,
I
go get you guys.
Yeah, I do want to note here, Burden falling. This is probably the furthest I've seen Luther Burden fall. Not really shocking. We liked him. He's got an interesting but very polarizing draft prospect profile coming out. You and I kind of hit the brakes a few months ago when we heard the smoke that he was on the outside looking in as far as first round draft capital, and we've only gotten stronger and stronger. Confirmation that the NFL teams are very sketched out by his route tree, by his how he fits into the modern NFL offense. And then he had I forget who had their model where they talk about interview scores, and he had a dog shit interview
Oh,
score while
yeah.
Emeka Egbuka and Jalen Knoll both crushed in that. So some really bad vibes have now been followed by pretty strong smoke around Luther Burden, being more of a dart round two receiver than
Yeah.
the strong prospect profile that many have heralded him about.
Yeah, it was David Zach 16 on
Mhm.
Twitter. Like I really enjoy reading his interview scores every year. As he'll say, it's not a perfect process. It's not something which, you can't pick flaws in. But he's had pretty impressive strike rates on it. He's come up with some good stuff, and I think that it's worth considering, it's worth reading. So yeah, I'd urge people to go and look at David Zach's interview scores that he published earlier today and make your own takeaways based upon that. But yeah, if Luther Burden is going to continue to get dinged on a number of levels, maybe it wouldn't be surprising if he falls slightly. I did see today again on that ESPN article about all their draft intel. They're expecting up to 7 to 8 wide receivers on day 2 to go, which could be really fun for draft capital and where we expect to see guys going. I would imagine if that's the case, then Luther Burden ends up in that range as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and this is kind of what we've seen is like polarizing. We've seen upsides
Yeah.
of DJ Moore, Jarvis Landry, aka the PPR scam of all PPR scams, but then also Rondale Moore. So it's very much like he's either going to crush or he's going to bust miserably. As we come up here on the 10-11 turn in a 2-1-5-1 build, feeling really good about our draft, and I'm glad we went ahead and just grabbed Travion there.
Yeah, so I mean, is there any running backs you want to pull up to kind of make this pairing work? Because obviously that's the one area that we're a little bit lacking at the minute. I mean, obviously Tootin has been all over the board. Tajay Spears, I don't mind. Jerome
I
Ford.
I'm okay saying we'll hammer out running back and let's just be done with the onesies. I kind of
Yeah.
like either Njoku or Loveland here.
Let's roll Dyson Loveland if you can get that in.
Oh, Tom, I can always get it in.
Like Loveland is I'll come back to him in a second, but let's what you want to do, another wide receiver here. I'd be completely fine with Pittman. And we'll circle back in a second to kind of what this sort
Yeah, let's go
like.
Pittman. Yeah, let's go Pittman because he's been falling, but I don't think I don't agree with why he's falling. But I know you have
Yeah.
a very exciting clip now that we took Colston Loveland.
Like Colson Loveland, like I'm not an elite film watcher or anything. I don't have a rookie model, but everything I see about the guy just gets me excited. I think that he's a really fun player. I understand why some people like Tyler Warren more. I understand why you can pick flaws potentially on Colson Loveland, but I just look at him and I think in the right scheme, he could be excellent. Obviously, you can make the connections to Jim Harbaugh and say, well, the Chargers just fucking need a tight end so it can actually exercise the offense that Greg Roman wants to put out there. So for me, if Colson Loveland ended up somewhere like that, I would just be all in and quite happy to end up at sort of 20% on the guy because he just feels like somebody who down the stretch of his rookie season could be incredibly good.
Yeah, Rich has weighed in on him. We've had Dwayne talk about how high in his model he is. We've had
Rookie supermodel.
the rookie supermodel guys, and then on top of all that, a lot of teams have him. I know there's been some smoke about his medicals spooking a few teams off, but I've heard that a few other teams are comfortable with the medicals. He's
Yeah.
still viewed as a round one tight end. The teams that love him because he's viewed as having a higher ceiling just because of how natural of a pass catcher and how dominant he is pass catching. I know today someone shared on Twitter that when you remove things like screens and the gimmicky, quick bubble hitting stuff, Loveland's, the things that inflate, targets and yards per route run, Loveland just laps the field, including Warren and all of those things, giving credence to some teams and scouts saying he has the highest ceiling in this class. And when we're talking about finishing up the onesies, going after someone that's going to go in the first round, potentially to a very good team that blocks very well, so his play action rate and his ability to play all the downs and all the snaps is good. That benefits and correlates bigly with targets and total touchdowns. And then just someone who's also a natural pass catcher and explosive with the ball. All good reasons to have him. I have been light on him relative to all those points since once again, other side of the board, it's just usually where I'm finishing up, either
Yeah.
catching up at receiver or doing my quarterback stacks. And then for a lot of times, guys like Tucker Craft would fall, and those are other great targets I want to capture and incorporate.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of building a team now where we're just grabbing guys from the other side of the board who are great picks and deserve to be taken earlier if their round one draft capital is to be believed. And we're just pairing them with really good players. So I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, and straight up, obviously, I'd probably prefer David Njoku, and I'm sure next week when I put my rank out, David Njoku will be ahead of Colson Loveland. But I just think there's so much potential there for all the reasons you kind of mentioned. Rich was saying that he thinks that Colson Loveland could put on more bulk as well. So he's already 245. If you put on just a little bit more mass so that he's not pushed around by like on the line of scrimmage, then it probably could serve him well. But yeah, like fuck it. We should be having fun at this point in the season.
And I know Corain has mentioned this a couple times, but Loveland was similar to slightly better blocker than Laporta was coming in, and really it's just about technique. You don't have to be the best blocker, but if you can be competent, those things are okay. And at the same time, I like Njoku. His yak and everything is very exciting. We have no idea what their quarterback situation is going to be. Flacco coming back in is a nice in case of emergency button, but we know the Browns want to have some sort of rookie or competent developmental guy to bring along. And even Flacco's comments were like, hey, it was an incentive laden deal. Like, I don't expect to start, but I'm ready to do so if they need it. So, and we've had plenty of Njoku. So just for also kind of shaking up, the types of teams we've built, you want to make sure, because we don't know which tight end is the guy you need, in the playoffs.
Yeah. I do think we see Flacco start a bit, because I mean, he was talking last week and he was saying that he had the chance to return to the Ravens. The Ravens reached out and asked him if he wanted to come back as the backup. And obviously he chose otherwise because he said to his agent, look, it's not the top priority, but I wouldn't be against it if nowhere else was a good choice. And the good choice for him was to start in somewhere. So, yeah, I feel like Jerome Ford is probably the safest one for volume of touches here, but I'd like to take a rookie as well. Or would you like to hit Tajay? Well, Tajay Spears goes off as a literally
let's just keep hammering. We get our little bit of Cleveland connection with Ford and Travis Hunter. And we can, we both like DJ Giddens for all the reasons that JJ Zacharyson said on our channel: pass catching, explosiveness, and it could easily be a round two guy that pops in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to take DJ Giddens, might as well hit this.
God, that boy nice. If anybody's gonna be the Bucky of this class, where it's just like he just does everything really well, and the team falls in love with him, coming out of the bye, and they just give him all the work. I mean, and it goes outside, the heralded top 2 rounds. It's almost certainly a guy like DJ Giddens.
I kind of feel like, most years we're kind of really hyped for round one. And, we've definitely had the wide receivers in the last couple of years where it's like, oh my God, the round one landing spots, particularly with the quarterbacks, matter so much. This year, because of the depth of the running back class and because of how that's built and because some of the options, even at the tight end class, round two feels like it's going to be absolute money this year. I really think that there could be a lot of fun to be had on Friday night.
Absolutely. And we mentioned JJ Zacharyson, looking at that prospect guide, and Rich has some similar in his rookie guide coming out with the V2. His comps are real nice, at 212, running a 4.4340. Guys like Cam Akers, Tevin Coleman, Marlon Mack, guys who just crushed on explosive plays and were able to earn goal line work and even workhorse roles. That's, and despite varying draft capital, Cam Akers round 2, Coleman I believe was round 3, Marlon I believe was round 3 or 4 if memory serves correct. So yeah, just guys that break tackles, catch passes well, and have enough size to be goal line backs and have the success rates and the production that guys like he had, but also a speed score of 110. Like
It seems good.
Yeah, it seems good, Tom. Seems good.
Yeah. I mean, 4.4340, I think it was. The size he is just, it's nice. Just drop the link in the chat to a short I put out over the weekend of Rich and JJ talking about Giddens. If you haven't watched that, go and watch it. We'll be putting out more just quick hitting shorts this week. Draft week always feels like a good time for them. We've had so many good guests on the last couple of months, but we're going to have to start opening up the books and booking in some guests for the best ball shows over the next couple of months because it's time for business. Like, I mean, I'm excited for the prize structure to see that. Normally by a few days, like around the draft, that's when we start getting the little tidbits from Underdog. Is there anything that you particularly want to see from Best Ball Mania this year?
I would like to see them run back a flat structure for the BBM finals. I really enjoyed what they did last year with, hey, you make the finals, you're at minimum breaking even
Yeah.
for max entering, which goes a long way in a volatile contest like it is. But then if you make the finals and you bracket up every 10 or 100 depending on where you are in the finals, you're actually making some money, and it's not winner take all style. I don't mind the winner take all tournaments they offer. I certainly don't want to enter one. I like having a shot. You want to sweat,
Yeah.
and you want a good sweat in the finals. And so I liked how they structured it. At the end of the day, I did not mind not having regular season prizes for finishes. I know our friend of the channel, Mathology, who finished first overall in the regular season, he was happy to have it in the clout. It just goes to show that what can win the regular season, when we're talking about drafters, roster construction and value and just sound building, not getting too cute, work really well, but it got wiped out first round of playoffs. And so, you want to be rewarded for making the finals. And really that's the biggest one. I hope they don't veer too far off to try to satisfy everyone, because you're never gonna make everybody happy. But having a nice prize up top, but also top 10 is also making some noise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they want to reward the regular season and keep that interesting, I think there's ways they could do that. Send them on a holiday, send them to a live final or something like that, or
exclusive merch.
yeah,
There's nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, you can
but
do stuff.
their own dog that nobody else has got as your logo on Underdog. Like, I think that there's a ton of ways that you can do that without having to sacrifice the finals payout. And I agree with you. Like, the fact that they paid out $37.50 to anyone who made the finals last year was really unique, and particularly when you compare that with DraftKings, where you were still talking about like $1,000. It's so ridiculous, like how hard it is to make these finals in those big contests, and to walk away with $1,000 if you've thrown almost $4,000 at it is not fun. So I think they nailed that. And we know the team are working through a lot of stuff. They said they've got some really exciting draft stuff to release, so I would expect things to be to be pretty good this year. We hammering running back here, Rico Dowdle, J.K. Dobbins, Rashad White, Tyler Algier, who we clicked a lot last year. I mean, I'm kind of okay with Rashad White. I know you don't like him as much, but I'm open to suggestions on
I
these two.
like him. I just know we've ended up with a shit ton.
Okay.
Uh, so it's more about just making sure we're diversifying. I don't want Rashad White on 50% of my teams necessarily. I know we're at 6 receivers. Um, I would be comfortable ending with 7 if we ended Noel, but if we want to double tap running back here, for structural
Yeah.
reasons, I'm good with that.
No, I'm good with Noel, and I think that the kind of tier of running backs, then we just really do have to hammer them after this one. So Algier or Martinez, like, would either of those be close to Noel for you?
I can certainly I can make a case saying, hey, let's get a third rookie, just shooting for the
Yeah.
second or third round draft capital. Let's do that because there are some names that have popped up
You
that we
sure?
take. Yeah, let's double tap running back here.
I
What do
was
we
a bit,
say all the time? Roster construction 101 first and foremost. So let's not get out of balance here to 2562. I love Noel. I have plenty of Noel. Um, there are plenty of other good names late that have become good targets, and I feel really solid about the receiver class
how,
we have on the roster.
So last year we clicked a lot of Tyler Algier. Eric Beinford was kind of on like in line with us as well, like as one of the easiest picks in the draft, saying that the distance between him and Bijan Robinson felt too far. This year I'm kind of having a bit more of a hard time clicking on Algier. It felt like towards the end of last season, Bijan really took the role entirely for himself. But for all the reasons why Algier's a good handcuff, he's still a good handcuff. I don't see a world where a team goes and tries to trade for him at this point when there's so many good running backs available throughout this draft. Do you think that Tyler Algier is just like somebody that should be an easier click, should be going around the 2 higher, might be going around the 2 higher if some of these rookies in this range don't get good draft capital?
I certainly think he should, and that's why you and I have taken a lot of him. I've taken a lot of him, and so at this point, it's for me as I finish out my portfolio, as you and I finish out our stream portfolio, that we don't miss potential huge hits for nice solid hits in Algier. I do think Algier's too cheap. If he's just like one of the best handcuffs, he's at least 20 picks too cheap because we've priced elite handcuffs like Charbonnet very, very high, and the offense can be very efficient, as we saw. The team said they want to still maintain, some sort of change of pace. So I think Algier's standalone value, minimum of 5 to 8 touches a game, stays intact, which isn't super valuable for best ball, but in a zero running back build like ours or Anchor with the Henderson early pick, you get value in the occasional 50 yards and a touchdown. That's not nothing. That's valuable for a team like this. But that said, we've taken them a lot, and as we round out things, it seems like Demi Martinez is someone that could be a potential second or third round running back hit. He's got size and efficiency that could make him a goal line guy. And in this build, I think we're trying to hit on these rookies that can hit big, and any of these rookies that gets surprising draft capital or a nut landing spot are going to go up, 20, 30, 40 picks more expensive. Instantly flip guys like Tank Bigsby, Jerome Ford, Trey Benson, Bashal Tutin. So, no reason not to take them because Bashal Tutin is still not making it out of the third or fourth round in the big board consensus ranks right now. So it's just about prioritizing good players that we don't want to be out on because we're 28% loaded on very solid picks in Tyler Algier. And that's probably why he's fallen. It's just because everybody agrees he's a good pick and they have plenty of him. It's probably
Yeah.
where we've ended.
Yeah, Martinez, I think you can definitely poke holes in him as a prospect, like the receiving worksmith that has been flagged up by various people who definitely know ball. But like this is half PPR. This is round 15, and he's our sixth running back, and I'm kind of fine with that because the way that Martinez makes an impression is his speed and his home run ability. And if you're telling me that like somebody towards the back end of the season starts earning more of a role, it's probably because they've been hitting those home runs. And that's kind of all I care about in best ball. Like, I don't need him to consistently put up 8-9 points a week. I need him to do enough to be hitting big weeks and dragging my team up, through the pools that it has.
I mean, he strikes me as the type of like Isaiah Pacheco type guy who just in the right offense that needs a big fast dude to be their goal line, to be their chain mover, and they just get comfortable with him in the phases of the game. As you mentioned, half point PPR, there's value there, and I don't want to as a once slappy. I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure I'm mixing in all types of profiles in our best ball portfolio because we don't know who's going to pop. We don't know who's going to really take hold of a role. And we know that a lot of teams have done a lot of work on these later round running backs, like your Steelers and etc. We know injuries happen, and the guys with size and speed are the biggest bets to really grab hold of more role than your satellite backs, especially
Yeah.
in this format.
Yeah, Hartman's saying I thought Martinez was pretty slow. I mean, he had 4.5, 140. So, like, we're not
At
talking Devon
220,
Achane.
at
But
220.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's that quick burst, and like he's got that kind of burst through the line of scrimmage for like, okay, potentially there's situations where he's going to get caught from behind if he's trying to house something from 80 yards. But I think that there's enough burst and enough speed that if you're coming into games late as a rookie, then potentially that's what he can deliver. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely not
Yeah.
Devon Achane.
105 speed score, well above the threshold of what you're looking for. Just not, as you mentioned, not much of a pass catcher, but not a nothing. Um, do we double tap running back here? Do we take our preferred? I probably like Richard more than Ollie Gordon given measurables.
Yeah, I'm okay with Brashard Smith. I think there's loads of upside there. It's just whether you want to double tap the rookies or bring up a guy like Justice Hill, Will Shipley, or go to wide receiver when we skipped on it last time.
I think we get a receiver here. I like Royals a lot. I'm a little worried about Harmon saying, hey, he hit this really questionable threshold where he ran 70% or more of his stuff from one side of the field. So unless he gets moved to the slot, the bust rate on that's really high. Demi Brown's gotten some good, GM coach speak.
Yeah.
Or we take a guy like Bond who is fast and just has, character concern draft stuff, but he's been falling in drafts. I don't have a strong lean here. All
I'd
these
go
guys.
Royals.
Royals.
Like
Okay.
my lean's Royals. I mean, I think Diami Brown's gonna definitely steal the role that Gabe Davis had. It seems like
Yeah.
the coach speak there. They're not even mentioning Gabe Davis when they're talking
Yeah.
about him, and I think Diami Brown has that. But I still think that there's potential that somebody comes in ahead of Diami Brown, maybe, or Diami Brown just doesn't have the same chemistry with Trevor Lawrence that he had last year in Washington. So I maybe we're leaning slightly too rookie heavy on some of these, but like, look, it's the last two drafts. Are you going to try and wait as long as possible to draft your final team of the year, Tyler, or the final team
Every
in big
time I
ball?
say I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna be patient, I get impatient. The itch, the hunger to draft hits, and I fire it away. And also, I don't. Too many times I've done. I'm gonna wait to do my last one or two, or whatever, and then the contest fills overnight, and I wake up with an odd number that drives my OCD nuts. So, we'll see. The second it gets to like 95% fill, I'll probably just rip it off. Because there's really no point in waiting because the slows are going to be the true last teams
Yeah.
drafted. The last point on Damian Martinez was if you look at his RAS, he ended with a 9.35 RAS because of his size. The speed grade was good. The explosion grade was good. His broad jump was really explosive, but the fact that he did it at nearly 6 feet 220 is the real measurable there.
Yeah, you just mentioned slow drafts, which reminded me that I'm on the clock on a bunch of drafters' slow
Oh,
drafts, which are now down to 2 hours per pick. So there we go. We're all good now.
all
Tyler,
caught up
what
on drafters.
just about last year, famously 69 BBMs. What's your really thought on that? Obviously, we will be drafting many BBM drafts along with whatever underdog throw away.
I mean, it's going to depend on. I doubled my BBM volume because of the flatter payout structure, and because I didn't want every single one of my BBMs to be streamed with the very least EV possible. So it'll just depend. 69 is a good brand number. Felt good about it overall. We'll see.
That's fair. Non-derogatory.
Yeah, I say be like water, my friend. Let the tournament dictate how much I do. If they run another flat but high end top, with any sort of benefits for drafting it over any other contest, I'll up my volume. And if not, I'll take my shots and we'll do plenty more drafts on Underdog and on all the other platforms. 'Cause at the end of the day, we love drafting. We also like making money.
We do love making money. And speaking of drafting, Ben asking, let's run a little board. So after this, I've got to bounce because packing a house up is really not fun at all. And I've got a whole shitload of stuff to do, including taking to pieces the kids' beds, which were an absolute nightmare to put to bed together in the first place. But Tyler, are you sticking around for a little board after this one?
Happy to give the people what they asked for. The little board's been filling quickly and running very fast. So I don't know what it is about the lower dollar tournament that people want to draft faster, but I'm like, this molasses draft is taking forever, but those little board drafts are finishing up in like 40 minutes, despite being 20 rounds.
Nice.
So happy to do a little board for the people because I'd like to get in as many of those as possible. Because why not? I think it's 15K to first, with a 4 to 12 first round advance rate. So pretty nice.
Yeah, I missed. I'd left it too late on drafters to get in on the low budget one. So I'm currently sitting in $6 or $7, $10 slows. And when I joined them, I had a few beers over the weekend and didn't realize that the clocks had already sped up. But so far, they're going quite slow. It seems to be relatively tame. I'm sure that's going to change.
I've already heard a few clock disasters with folks. I think maybe DK or Underdog. They've shifted closer to 1 hour now, and a few people already mass drafted Adam Thielen to every team on the clock.
I mean, hey, look, every year we take the piss out of Adam Thielen, and the last couple of years he's kind of had his moments.
Oh, Ben, tell me about it. Do you know how much restraint it's taken to make sure I have 2 big boards for today, the last week of the contest? All weekend long, I was ripping drafters while at the museum and at stupid Easter brunch because, God forbid, I listened to the silence that was my in-laws.
That sounds.
Tom, the roast was so overcooked. Oh, as a
Yeah,
Texan, I've never been more upset at meat.
I was at my mother-in-law's for Sunday dinner, and it was disappointing, definitely. And look, she's getting old. She does her best, but she's finally relinquishing control of Christmas dinner and going to allow me to do Christmas dinner this year. After I did about half of it last year, which is great because normally on I have to drive, but not this year. Drunk Tom in the kitchen. Christmas dinner may be miserable, but I'll have a good time.
Tom, you know me. I love to eat. I love to eat meat. I put the meat back. I had one slice. I went, oh my god, it tastes worse than it looked. And I flamed it in the guy's chat, and then I put it back, and I ate more. What was it? We brought some garlic, bacon, Brussels sprouts, and I just smashed those. And I was like, I will eat the rest of my Korean double fried chicken when I get home. And that was lovely.
Right, back up on the clock in round 18, sitting on 2672. Obviously, we could go a few different ways here. There's nobody that I feel particularly strongly about. We take quite a bit of Marshawn Lloyd, but I'm absolutely fine to take him again here.
Yeah, I just think, given his ADP and the coach speak unsolicited about his pass involvement, given that Josh Jacobs had such little, didn't clear 8% last year, feels good for our potentially last running back. Here's all the guys I've starred. Here's probably how I like him in their order.
Yeah, I'd be fine with 2-2. The coach speak he got last week from Sean McVay talking about wanting to do a better job of getting him out there consistently. Maybe that one in a week looks completely stupid if the Rams do something fairly good at the wide receiver position, but I'm fine with it for now.
Well, he's on the team. He signed a new contract, and the team has every reason to use him in some capacity. And if that's just one long touchdown, fine for a 19th round pick. But if he's actually pushing to be the wide receiver 3 in a pass offense that could be top 12 in the league after adding Adams, who's been far healthier than either of Puka or Cup the last few years and has just been wildly explosive, then Tutu could just absorb all the D-Rob, work, but be more effective at it because he's actually fast. So he's been someone I've been trying to prioritize late in some of these builds, catching up at receiver. And I guess we could talk openly about with our last pick. We're sitting at a 2.782. What do we want to do with this last pick?
So I'm kind of fine with the QB situation. I feel like there's possibly some more interesting tight ends to throw in here. I mean, you could look at Tyler Higbee for a little Rams correlation. Then Mason Taylor, somebody who the hype has steadily been building for. It wouldn't be a surprise to see him go on Thursday night. I'm kind of okay with Noah Fant as well.
Ugh.
Michael Mayer feels like somebody that not so long ago there was a bit of hype that he could get traded. Now it feels like if that happens, it's probably going to be for such low draft capital that I'm not necessarily too worried about it. So I don't mind them at QB. What's standing out over there?
I think it's probably Rodgers and Flacco and co. Yeah.
What year
Rodgers
is
went.
this?
Yeah.
You can make an argument that Derek Carr is possibly worth it there, but if it turns out that he just doesn't want to play for the Saints, but then you kind of count on a trade, which may or
the
not.
Saints can't afford to trade him.
Yeah,
is the problem.
I think that has to end up being a mutual situation where he agrees to redo his contract just to get out of it. But
Tom and PPR Tyler are the only two men that continue. Oh no, I take that back. I think Cody as well. Those three individuals I have heard mention Fant's name without vomiting afterwards. I think it's too good of a tight end class to continue to rely on a guy who the coaching staff knows damn well he cannot be a full-time, integrated tight. I don't think we need to go tight end. First round Colson Loveland, top 25 Trey McBride. I think a third QB if stacked makes some sense. I have a sales pitch I'll give you after I've argued about it in the ship chasing Discord 2 separate times, including today and then last week. And then potentially an 8th running back, just because we did go kind of, we punted till Ford in the 13th round. And I like Travion. We like these guys. I like Dowdle despite his ADP, but certainly we could be looking at, DJ, Damian, and Brashard all being kind of nothing burger rookies, 3rd or 4th round. And then Lloyd being just a guy who's kind of doing the Emmanuel Wilson role, which is only valuable with a touchdown. So, yep.
Yeah,
see, I knew.
Look, I mean, just going back to this briefly, I'm definitely not going to linger on it. I'm not a Noah Fant truther particularly, but last year in 8 of his 13 games, he had over 5.5 PPR points, which you throw touchdowns in on top of that, and that's suddenly very usable. He had 0 touchdowns last year, which isn't helpful, but I think part of that is the problem with the scheme that was there, and obviously Ryan Grubb ended up fired. So if we end up in a situation where the Titans are featured slightly more, perhaps it pays off. I just feel like he's somebody who's going to be out there a decent amount, but look, I'm not going to bang the drum consistently for Noah Fant.
I think last year was his year to get out there more often. I think he showed us he can't. The touchdowns are hard to come by. Yeah, I know.
Charlie's not wrong.
We're still bored. Yeah. The draft needs to be here yesterday.
When we get to 18 rounds next week, if that's where Underdog go with it, then I don't imagine we'll be saying Noah Fant's name too often. But look, what's at running back before we get to your sales pitch here? I mean, I don't mind. You can make an argument that Raheem Mostert, even behind Ashton Genty, might see some work as a veteran. Kendre Miller in New Orleans definitely could see some work. he looked okay in small doses towards the end of the year. Is this the year for Antonio Gibson? Blah, blah, blah. Keaton Mitchell, John Harbaugh talked him up last week, saying that he expects him to have a bigger role this year. And then Khalil Herbert is definitely somebody who could be a really good handcuff to Jonathan Taylor, who's not exactly the healthiest running back. Any of them over the sales pitch you're going to send my way?
No, but sure. I think they are all fine and well for what you've described, but I think on underdog with how important quarterback is as far as scoring is concerned, as well as three stacked quarterbacks being one of the biggest EV boosts to your playoff gauntlet, which we're most concerned about. It's 3 or 12 advance, but then the playoff weeks get very hard to navigate. And I think when you take all that into consideration, Daniel Jones, who's getting to split starter reps with A Rich immediately, paired with Michael Pittman, just feels like a very easy click because I don't think a guy splitting that also has mobility, finally going to a good offensive line and a pretty decent scheme where he can hit the short stuff to Downs and Pittman better. Potentially getting a first round weapon. I think Dimes is the pick.
I'm absolutely fine with that. I think that they've made their decision on Anthony Richardson by now. The point where you bring in somebody like this, the point where you say we're going to split starter reps, that decision has been made. It's going to get pretty ugly. And I think that even though Anthony Richardson might start the beginning of the season and end up finishing the season as a starter, there will be enough usable weeks in there from Daniel Jones that I'm okay rolling the dice on him, even though I don't necessarily have massive amounts of faith in him as a player. But that flaw that you mentioned with rushing is worthwhile. And what if we see healthy Daniel Jones largely for the last couple of years? Daniel Jones has been injured, he's been banged up, and some players don't necessarily come back from that. But if he is healthy, if he shows a willingness to run, if the scheme is helping him run a bit better than what we saw in New York, then I can talk myself into it as the last pick of the draft anyway.
Yeah, and just to remind folks, the talk about splitting the reps started back in December. The second that the season wrapped, they said we don't have that guy in town right now, but when he comes, it's going to be an open competition. And then now they're saying once again we're splitting the reps right off the bat, and A-Rich has to become a much more accurate passer, especially in the intermediate and short area, which he's been really bad at since college. To keep the offense on track. And Dimes is not very good, but he is better in the short intermediate area. We saw that with Dable. Spam Wandale, spam Theo, spam neighbors on crossing routes, and then read play option. So it sounds like they want to just try to play like ground and pound ball with JT in the run game. Dimes is mobile enough, even after his ACL, that he can replicate what A-Rich did better than going to Flacco, where they have to totally change the scheme. And if they're talking about splitting reps, both these guys are going to play. Both of them are going to get benched. Both are live for the playoffs and the finals. But I'm very fine taking the no-cost bet on the guy who's a slightly better passer, who was given $4 extra million after first negotiations in the first week of free agency to come join and compete.
Yeah, love it. Tyler, let's just recap our team quickly and get any kind of last thoughts on your 149th big board before you move on to the little board too. And
Absolutely. Finish up with a 3-7-8-2. Feel really nice about the balance build. Caleb Williams double stacked, Kyler Murray single stacked potentially, and Daniel Jones single stacked potentially. Travion Henderson, Jerome Ford, DJ Giddens, Rico Dowdle, Dame Martinez, Brashard Smith, Marshawn Lloyd. Definitely a little bit of fragility and thinness, but if Henderson is as good as advertised, goes in round one. Jerome Ford, I think at worst is the 1B pass down in this situation, potentially gets more considering how they allocate resources. DJ Giddens, we mentioned big upside. Rico Dowdle sounds like he's the 1B splitting with pass down. I think Hubbard's too expensive in the top 60 picks right now. Dowdle's too cheap. Kind of like the Rashad White play last year, honestly. And then just, taking shots at upside guys. Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall, Michael Pittman, Jalen Royals, Tutu Atwell. Love this. Love how we stacked it, built it. Nice mix of youth and just cheap guys with roles. And then Trey McBride and Colson Loveland as our onesie tight ends. This is how I'd prefer to play it, where I don't need as much tight end if Trey McBride hits and matches what he does, and Loveland in the first round does what he does. We're all set, and I like taking the shots at the higher upside positions. Feel really nice about this. Glad that one of the last big boards I draft with you on stream just continues to be rock solid from a texture and portfolio standpoint.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's definitely not a team I would have felt comfortable with back when the big board first launched. There's so much rookie upside but fragility there, but it feels like, we've got a really good handle on who these rookies are at this point. Confident enough that I'm happy to build around them, even to the point where Loveland as a tight end 2 feels completely fine. But look, I know you're about to jump into a little board, and I've got shit to do. You've got drafting to do. Tyler, this big board, it's been a lot of fun to draft in. We've had a lot of fun. We will be back next week drafting in Best Ball Mania, figuring out what to do post-draft. Obviously, Tyler will be back on Thursday. We've got loads of Dynasty and rookie content coming your way on the channel this week. Draft strategy videos will be starting up very soon. I will be diving into a load of them. Appreciate everyone hanging out, and Tyler will take care of you for the rest of tonight. See you later, folks.
Later, Tom. Thanks for joining. Good luck with all the packing. Moving houses is a bitch. All right, folks. We are in the little board as promised, pulling the 7 pick. I feel like almost all of these little boards, I've been stuck in the middle or later part of the board. And you'll probably find me in plenty of these. I don't know if I'll have the time to max it, but I'm definitely trying my damnedest to get as many of these bullets in as I can. Pretty flat payout structure, which is nice. 15K up top, 7,500 for second, 6,500 for third, 5,000 for fourth. I mean, just like a really solid there. You see the advancement structure here, 4 to 12, so much softer advanced structure than any of the early draft 10 or under dollar drafts we've seen thus far. 2 of 10, which is, again, not too shabby. Then 1 of 8 for a 467 seat final. 100 almost less than the big board. So fun contest to be drafting in. What's up, Chad? How's everybody doing? Also, time box contest. It's only going to be live for what? 4 days, 5 days? 4 full days. So carte blanche to get weird and have fun and do whatever you want to do. I should probably take CD here since he's the one guy I have yet to grab between 6 and 10 so far. So I'll make sure I have at least one CD land team in my little board portfolio. Not my favorite click by far, but I don't want to have 0% of anybody in the first round. Especially with the smoke that the Cowboys are dead set on adding a receiver. If they add a guy like Tech McMillan, I think could be a pretty decent ding to CeeDee Lamb, but at least keeps him in the slot where he thrives better. Golden, I think that's probably better for Lamb than not, just because I don't think his profile is very good for fantasy, but his skill set is good for the offense as a whole. I know Jacob Sanderson and Corain and JJ Zacharyson and Ridge have all kind of talked about that. And I definitely buy into 40 time gate, that his 40 time is fake. So many measurements from the combine seem fake. Just because they changed, Senior Bowl to combine to pro day. I don't remember I don't remember a season ever where the measurements changed so much. So what are we thinking? Who's everybody? I know you sickos. We're all jumping in these little boards across the board to get these last drafts in. Who is everybody scrambling to make sure they get enough of? I got Achane with Jefferson in a little board earlier today, so I think I want to get Lamb with Ladd, and I'll probably grab a running back in the third or fourth. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Milrow hand measurement. A couple of the O-line guys' arms got shorter and then longer and then shorter again, or vice versa. Several players with several measurements. And then we found out that the NFL Combine 40 isn't laser measured. It's laser ended, but it's hand start, which is wild. Ben. Brother, been there, brother. We'll draft some more. Does this close? Closes at 5 p.m. Central Thursday, so right before the draft. I don't know if I'll hop on stream to rip little boards before the NFL watch party, but might go live again this week. Stream some little boards if y'all like that. We'll figure it out. Yep. Here's the thing. You can take Travis Hunter as high as you want now because his starting ADP was what, like 70 something? It's insane. It's ludicrous what the NFL team does. And like at least the track is consistent in Indy, but like my God, yeah. Like the hand-timed 40s, chain gang, index cards, spotting the ball, billion-dollar industry, makes hundreds of millions a week on TV and ad revenue. It's stuck in the 1970s. It's truly incredible. One thing I've been doing these little boards as well is to start mixing in McBride with some of these guys like BTJ, Malik Neighbors, Nico, Puka, etc. here in the mid-second after Brock goes, and something I plan to do a good amount because I think his price deserves to be mixing with everybody else. I mean, wait for it. They're gonna convince themselves Guardian caps are actually working when there's no evidence to support they actually are. And they're going to turn the Guardian helmets into leather versions. We're going to be right back to 1920s ground and pound ball. They're going to be like, you see what Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry did? You see what the Guardian caps are doing? Make them leather, get more running backs, run the wing tee. It's full circle, baby. As the quarterbacks get worse and the offensive lines get worse, we will return to Stonehenge running back. That's what they want. That's what big NFL wants. What is that? 12-9 games with with missed field goals. All right, nothing too weird happening. I say that Genty went 101. I missed that. Flip the board, as it were, since he's going to be a fixture of the 2-3 turn exclusively in this contest. I know Genty was going a little bit later in the big board, but certainly not in the little board too. We'll happily take DJ Moore over Terry McLaurin here as our third receiver. Yeah, not only are they going to play the Brady Bunch theme at halftime, I think they booked, God damn it, sniped on DJ Moore. Oh no, I guess I'll have to take Devontae Adams. Not only are they doing that, I heard they are going to book, they're going to book the last remaining Beatle to play the halftime show again. Just this time, no Wings songs, just Beatles songs. Hartman says they do say the league is cyclical. All these small, fast defensive players stopping the deep pass. Time to pound the rock. I mean, that's kind of what Belichick and the Patriots did 10 years ago to punish the Colts and some of the AFC and NFC teams that were making the championships and the finals year over year, was just have enough heavy person. And honestly, the best way to do it is have two sets of personnel, right? Have some heavy personnel and have some fast, lightweight personnel, and then just dictate play to play, team to team, play the matchups. But we've seen that like the Eagles are just like, we're just going to have the biggest, strongest, fastest, gnarliest trenches, and then just dominate the line of scrimmage. And any team that can't stop us there, no big deal. And any team that can go toe to toe with us, well, they're not going to go toe to toe every single play, every single down. Yeah, no, that's fair. Wing tee is too contemporary for the NFL. No, the 3-hole just living their life. I mean, here's the problem with 20 rounds. too many people get too comfortable with extremely robust starts. And honestly, Gibbs, Bucky, McBride, you can make that work. I don't hate that. It's not the worst start. We're not making him pay just yet. I will happily take Jaden Daniels. So this is what I'm making myself take elite quarterbacks if I'm doing zero running back and I've got 3 solid receivers out the gate. So that way I can potentially end with 2 quarterbacks. But I was light on the elite quarterbacks in the big board, trying to play like the mid and cheap tiers. But now with 4 of 12 advancing, I think an elite quarterback becomes pretty important to making sure I advance. But also to allow me roster construction to really hammer for the finals. And I'm telling myself, and zero running back is more effective if you're winning at the onesies. So it's been my way to get access to the elite guys more often. And I've gotten Lamar here. I've gotten Jaden here. I've yet to get a Allen zero running back build yet, but we'll get it. We'll snag it. I wish this draft would speed up. I wish I would have got in more so we could speed this bad boy up. It was raining most of the day when I was in the office. By the time I got home, couldn't really get my dogs to go outside. So I got to go take them out after this, make sure they get down to business. Yeah, I'm also taking Rice in the 3rd round over a bunch of these guys for obvious reasons. I think that's very justifiable. Surprised I've yet to see Hampton not taken over guys like Chase Brown. Yeah, I had like 20% Daniels last year in the big board. And then I got to like 15, 16, maybe 17 total post draft. And this year, because he's in the top 4 rounds, I just structurally have very little elite quarterbacks because of the opportunity cost. I probably should have gotten more of the 4th round guys because I do think this tier is pretty flat, but I also think they provide a lot of value. I've used the 4th round to hammer guys like Hampton, guys like Tet and JMO and Rice and Adams when they were there. And then even Kittle, I'm like in the little board, I'm taking Kittle over several of these guys post the elite quarterbacks because I think the tier is flat enough that it's defensible. So yeah, I'm a late tight end and late quarterback drafter at heart. I like playing value and I like playing spike weeks and I like having 3 stacked for the playoffs. And it becomes very costly to do if you take an elite quarterback. And some of these little board drafts, I was in one today where Love fell 20 picks past ADP, and then Penix down to like Ward all fell like 40 picks. And I was like, was it really worth it to take? And I ended up having 3 quarterbacks because I got all of my quarterbacks stacked up. And I was like, shit, I could have just waited. Big brain hours, Jeff. Big brain. I just refuse to take DK Metcalf here as long as he's not the only receiver on the roster. I just can't bring myself to do it. Henderson goes. I should probably take Waddle, but Waddle feels so not fun. I think I'll just take Walker here and see what happens. I don't like how little Waddle mattered even while Reek struggled. I know that was somewhat systemic, but they're not going to magically get like 3 quality starters along the O-line, and I'm just worried how much this offense kind of just continues to peter out. And I don't buy that Reek is definitely gone. I think he could get moved in the draft, but it sounds like that was more contractual noticing than not. I don't think it behooves the Dolphins to really move a guy like Tyreek, considering he did much better than Waddle in the same shit environment. And Waddle's been more injury prone anyway. They just need youth and quality. They need it everywhere. So I don't know. Well, rookie Waddle got peppered with targets nonstop, Jarvis Landry style. And so it didn't matter how bad the offense was going to be if he was going to be peppered with like 10, 11 targets a game, especially like short stuff. Now that he has Reek winning deep, middle, and short, and Reek fell off a cliff yards per out run and efficiency wise. Offense took a dive. But even with healthy, Tua, they shifted the offense to protect him and get the ball out quick. And guys like Jonnu and Achan serve that role really easily as well, with Reek and Waddle kind of taking the corners off. So I don't know. I don't think it's crazy to say that I don't love Reek or Waddle at cost, either one of them. When you pair it with the opportunity cost of guys I do think have legit upside in their environment and in their talent profile. I could be wrong there, but the Waddle 1-2 turn drafters last year were wrong. So, and again, I understand the systemic reasons for why we're going to take Hunter as a wide receiver 4. Another reason why I was okay taking a running back in the 5th is because it's either Hunter, Pearsall, or Reed here. And I think that the upside they present is equal to or more than, the tier that goes above them in Metcalf, Waddle, whatever. Because like Hunter has the upside of being, we're talking like 120 targets with a lot of efficiency and pop as a, second overall pick with a much better offensive line in Cleveland. Sutton is last year of his contract and was fine and is older. So it could be the Hopkins or, receivers that get traded mid-season and crater. We've seen that happen multiple times. Addison probably gets suspended 1 to 3 games. Is fine. He's been really, really solid. McCarthy, we mentioned here with the health stuff that it was more of a cleanup and nothing major. And now we get confirmation today that he should not be limited for voluntary OTAs. So great sign there. So get McCarthy getting the full offseason to get reps and installed makes me feel better about secondary and ancillary pieces. I just like Hawkinson better at price. Olave's a tough one because it's probably Dart or somebody else with Derek Carr being weird. I like Jawan's talent. I like his target earning potential. I like the offense a lot, but it's an ambiguous setup, and I'm just not buying Debo or Judy at these prices. So to me, just grabbing the rookie that could far outmatch their ADP makes a lot more sense with those guys question marks. I'd say on the decline from being awesome, but nowhere near dog shit. The scheme they run, the guys they have, and the picks they have allow them to retool better than the Dolphins. Because Cleveland has just been able to move money around better and easier. They also have better draft picks. Like their second round pick could be an O lineman. Second pick 30, 34. Probably the 9th, 10th, or 11th O lineman off the board. And that's gonna be better than the Dolphins sitting in the middle of the pack. Hartman asking, it'll be interesting to see if McDaniels can innovate in Miami. I think he's shown to innovate and change, but that doesn't mean it was like an overall like making something out of nothing with how bad that line was is admirable, but it also was not going to win them games, which is a problem. A lot of great buzz about Egbuka, so I'm tempted to go Egbuka here, but I do think in a 4 of 12 environment, getting access to Hawkinson could be really fun. I have had him drop enough in these drafts that I might try to push him to 90 and get both guys. Damn, Egbuka goes. Who's more likely to be there at 90, Hawkinson or Diggs? Probably Diggs. I want to get Diggs considering he looks like he's ahead of his at 32, considering that the docs think he's kind of ahead of schedule. I think bodes well. He was better on the outside than he was on the inside in Houston last year. And with New England, they have guys that can play on the inside. They don't have guys that can play on the outside. Not sure what they're going to do, but it would make a lot of sense if they took like Mimbo O-line at 4. So then you're thinking a second or later receiver pushes Diggs. I don't think that's likely. So I like, and then again, this is where his ADP started. So I think he's more than fine above a lot of these guys total upside wise. But I think I can get both guys. And structurally, this is pretty fair. I do think Daniels is a more limited play caller and schemer than like we saw McVay get forced to kind of like adjust after he got his ass handed to him by Belichick. Not every OC adjusts and adjusts well. And part of the problem is they've pushed their chips in so much draft capital wise that they haven't really been able to retool with the later picks and some of the free agents like the McVay Rams have done. I think the Miami GM has kind of done them a disservice. Okay, Tiger Uppercut asked, what do I think of Ridley there? I've taken a lot of Ridley. I think projected wise, I get him a lot. I've got a lot in the big board. I've yet to really click him in this because I think Cam Ward, it's definitely interesting for like the deep stuff. Ridley also just kind of seemed to somewhat struggle and not be the most efficient guy in the world. So if you're telling me like one or the other, I'm gonna have a hard time out saying I saw Ridley kind of suck and give up on routes and just have like Jerry Judy-esque alligator arms with passes. I know part of that was just sucking with Levis, but at the end of the day, it's hard to not want the tantalizing, number 2 overall pick playing receiver over Ridley. I do expect them to add to the receiving room with their, first pick in the second round and beyond, since they got some O-line help in free agency. We correctly guessed that Diggs will be a pick available to us, and we add him as our 5th receiver. So 115, Daniels, Walker, Hawkinson at our onesies and running back right now, with Lamb, McConkey, Adams, Travis Hunter, and Diggs as our receivers. I like a 115 build with an anchor through these 4 to 12 advancement. So I think Ridley's fine. I do think when JJ Zacharyson and Gretchen ETR do their like season long projections, you're going to notice that rookie quarterbacks, they tend to kind of throttle down efficiency and total thing. Now, Levis was pretty bad, so I think there's still meat on the bone, even with a adjusted downwards expectation for the Titans offense as a whole. He's to project as the clear target leader, but the offense is still not going to be expected to score a shit ton of touchdowns. And Ward's very, scramble and rush, savvy for that offense. So I think total single week upside and season long upside could be a massive with Travis Hunter getting. It sounds like the Browns are kind of in on pairing Sanders with Hunter. The scheme is just more, quarterback friendly. Callahan's not really been able to assemble his full team. Ridley's fine. I think if I'm building for total upside in this $3 contest, and I think I just prefer bigger shots at upside. I'll end up with Ridley, but it's hard not to just load up on Hunter, who should probably be, going above Metcalf with the news that he's likely the 2nd overall pick. Been asking, do you prefer your guys better inside? I mean, here's the deal. Outside feels good. Inside feels good. Just depends how you're bringing it. Oh, and see, this is where it's like, it wasn't just with Ridley, though. It was with Rudolph, too. If you had Ridley on any of your finals teams, you watched those games and you watched how he kind of gave up on routes, not just because of the quarterback. There were red zone routes where I was just like screaming at Ridley. Why didn't you bring that in? Why did you cut it inside? Why did you cut it outside? It was maddening. That's what I'm saying. He's fine. Like, projections are still pretty solid. But like, just the way that Ladd was a better pick for total unknown upside of a very tantalizing profile, Hunter playing full-time receiver could have an upside we can't really fathom right now, that I'm buying into, just because we don't know how efficient he's going to be, but it looks really interesting. So just rookie luck box it's hard to pass up. Will Levis makes Josh Rosen look like Peyton Manning. Hey, you know what? I'm excited for Levis. I'm not going to pretend like it's going to be a top 15 offense, but I definitely don't think it's going to be bottom 5 as often as it was. I think we're going to take our second running back here in Charbonnet and hope for our preferred third running back. Oh my God. I clicked Charbonnet and forgot I clicked Walker. Total fucking, well, we just handcuffed our 5th round pick because I wasn't paying attention, because I've spent this entire time vamping about every other fucking roster in the NFL and forgetting who I've picked. So we just handcuffed. And I wanted Mason, and I was like, no, I could probably get Mason to come back around. And All that upside talk, and I've just capped the upside of this running back room. Fucking hilarious. Cam Ward also said that Treylon Burks was his 5th greatest wide receiver in the NFL, so he's just giving love to his Titans. Should just taken Mason and said, "Fuck it, I have the Minnesota connection, but I've been trying to get greedy and get both." Also, can I just say that it greatly amused me that so many like boomer NFL accounts were aggregating this fucking Fortnite clip of an NFL player streaming. That makes me laugh. Like it's kind of funny because it is stupid and a little bit cringy that like it's like the videos and the TikToks where it's like Subway Surfer to get your stupid, broken brain attention while they feed you nonsense, split screen. And the same thing happens where like, oh, I want to listen to the audio clip, and it's just like Cam Ward's face down in the center, but we're all watching the stupid Fortnite character run around to get the intel. It made me laugh. That was amusing. Do I just take Fields here and be done at quarterback? I don't love any of these other picks. Drake May probably comes back around to us, but I don't. No, Drake May just went, so fuck it. Yeah, I guess I'll take Fields and just be done 2-2-5-1 at quarterback with Daniels and Fields. Fuck it. And just hope. I don't even have to hope that they have the same bye week because 4-12 advance. It's not as bad. Yeah, no, it's just for like the iPhone and iPad kids that were given technology and YouTube and apps like way too early in their development, and now they literally cannot pay attention without subtitles playing or motion going, and because the algorithm and people know that now, it's just every bit of like, dude, I love like stand-up clips, and I can't stand that. Like I love it when they add captions to audio that's hard to hear or understand. But when you're subtitling, like auto subtitling, and I think it's an auto AI thing now where it's like, oh, you just run it through the caption generating and we'll just do it for us. I hate that it's not optional because it distracts me. I start reading the joke instead of listening to the delivery and watching the delivery, which is the whole point of stand-up. I hate that. Like I hate all this like capture your attention with nonstop motion shit that's going on now. It's not for me. I don't mind it as an option if I can't watch it with audio on, but I hate that it's like default. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just created to get your attention and keep your eyes on it the entire time, but you're not paying attention to the part you should be paying attention to. You're watching the thing that doesn't matter, or it's just distracting you and you're not totally listening. We're doomed. We're very doomed. Being online all the time is not good for your brain. Breaking news. Wow, Daniel Jeremiah ranked Bayshal Tootin below Jaden Blue, Scatterbo, Harvey, and Sampson in his top 150. He also had Isaac Tesla at 99 overall in his top 150. It was pretty interesting. I read up Lance Zierlein and JJ Zacharyason's film write-up and then analytical profile. Not a whole lot to love outside of being hyper athletic, but there is that. We're going to take our running back most likely here. Yeah, that's how most of these rooms have turned into, where it's like, I think we're just going to say fucking take Sampson because the Titans and Lions brought in, who was it? Cam Scatterbo in for his final visit today. So, and I told people Spears was probably a little more fragile than we wanted to think, whereas Pollard is not as fragile. And I think that, with the top pick in the second and third round, they could absolutely do something to replace the oft injured Pollard, or God damn it, not Pollard, Spears. What's good, BB Meat Gazer? Also, thanks. Shout out everybody for hanging out with Tom and I in the previous draft. Thanks for hanging out now. Hit that like button. Every little bit helps. Appreciate you hanging out as we rip our little board. For those just joining, I accidentally handcuffed my running back room like a dumbass, but we are sitting in a 2-3-5-1 build. Daniels, Fields, quarterback, Walker, Charbonnet, Sampson, running back, Lamb, McConkey, Adams, Hunter, Diggs, and Hawkinson at tight end for our zero running back team. I think Dubs is undervalued here. So we'll take Romeo Dobbs as our sixth receiver. A little bit of Minnesota correlation. Even if they draft another guy, his role on the outside is safe. They have to replace Watson. They're not replacing Dobbs. And it's not Dobbs, it's Dubs, god damn it. And so Dubs has a red zone role. Diggs might avoid pup. So it's like just a little bit of access. And if they get more consistent in the past, like they talked about. Scatterbo to Tennessee feels kind of bad for everyone involved. Agreed. They do like Pollard a lot, and they paid Pollard a lot of money. It could be that Scatterbo takes Spears' work and then is the plan for after Pollard, because I'm sure Tony Pollard's contract has an out after this year, since it was a 3-year deal, which usually means it's a 2-year deal. And yep, wouldn't you know it, 2026 they can cut him pre-June for $2 million in dead money and $7.2 million saved. So yeah. But if that is their plan, I find it hard to believe they wouldn't. We've kind of seen this with guys like Connor, where like just because they take a running back in like the top 3 rounds doesn't necessarily mean that it's the guy who's going to take everybody's work. And it's insurance first and foremost, because these teams want full running back rooms at full health. But like they were running Pollard into the dirt all, like the dude was injured, had like one ankle left, and they wanted to make sure he got all of his records and his incentives. So I don't know that they kick him to the curb taking a guy like Scatterbo. But it's not. It wouldn't be great vibes. I would be buying Pollard if he dropped an ADP with a round 3 Scatterbo, because Pollard at least has long speed. A year removed from that leg fracture that Cam just doesn't have. Oh, I love this joke, Hartman. Do you think Romeo Dubs is scared of Jameis Winston? I don't know. Maybe he wants Winston to eat him. What you think about that? Romeo, oh, eat me, Winston. You know what I'm saying? I'm so tired. It's been such a long day. It was a long weekend with the in-laws. And this draft is slow as molasses. My voice is tired from talking all day. What do we want to do with our 13th round pick? 2-3-6-1, probably a running back, probably Garendo or Giddens, whichever is available. I like Harvey just fine. I'm not into Ray Davis very much. Wasn't really that much like Braylon. Just wasn't that good in their opportunistic roles. Re-signing Ty Johnson, not great for overall upside, getting more work. And I think Ryan from Fantasy Points published his year 2 model write-ups and kind of jived with what JJ Zachariason found, which is just like those guys just weren't that good in the opportunity they were given, and they certainly weren't better than the later versions of themselves. So Garendo, though, popped despite being a later pick. Just a guy that explosive, that efficient, very A-Chain-esque. Except bigger size and but also was catching passes. So if he can avoid draft capital wiping him out, which I don't think them drafting anybody would wipe him out necessarily because he's still valuable. They need someone like Debo to like do this quick hitting screen yak stuff. And I mean, Grindo might be one of the fastest, most explosive guys in the NFL. And a guy like that, you have a role for him in some shape or format. Kind of like how Denver utilized Marvin Mims late last year, where it's like just kind of like as a pseudo running back on these quick hitting out routes and just letting him utilize yak. Jameis is a gym. Yeah, I don't know that I fully agree with that because while Jameis has done or been alleged to do some heinous shit back in the college days, it wasn't too. Well, I don't know if I can say that. Well, I can say to that scale, not degree, but scale. The sheer scale. And you know what? Some people still like and defend Watson. It's truly beyond reasoning. If you have any sort of moral fiber. Also, little board dropping today saved, absolutely saved PPR Tyler. All right, we're going to snag Noel as our 7th, potentially last receiver. I like this room a lot. And then we will figure it out. White's a guy that's fallen. Happy to get him. Algier's a guy that's fallen. Wright, another second-year running back who looked pretty laughably poor, and including guys on the same team in the same situation that I've just been avoiding. Madison coming in as the size guy for goal line stuff could certainly just take that role. Dame is fine, but not my favorite. So I feel okay about this running back room. We'll probably end with no less than 7. Might be an 8 running back build just because I handcuffed my dumbass. So there will always be a week where I don't think there's been any week where both these guys have hit the lineup. And if they did, you were not winning. Let's see. Anything weird happening on the board? Corum probably like one of the few guys where you're like, yeah, you could take him. You make enough caveats for those like second year guys. Pierce going there's that's just a projection play. What's up, Kelly? Hashtag crab legs. I mean, it is insane for a guy to be known for so much. Like the crab legs, the sexual deviant crime in college, being a bust, but then being one of the saviors of fantasy football, the 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions year, the eating a W, the insane pregame speeches outside of just eating a W, the insane post-game and pregame interviews. Yeah. Well, that's how you stay one step ahead of yourself, is never agreeing with yourself. Just as we hoped, one of White or Algier will fall to us. We will take them with open arms and open legs, and then hope to stack Jaden Daniels on the wrap. What's up, Clay? Good to see you, brother. That's true. Also a Heisman winner. And that's the one thing no one really says. All right. Do we take Rachaad White for some production, or do we take Algier, the elite handcuff? Because I think I'm only going to get one of them. I think I lean White, given the coach speak and the passing role and just the size, over just the straight handcuff. Yeah, I think I have to go White. I just don't know if a team does absolutely replace a running back. It's probably White, a guy they happily benched for Bucky. But he was mentioned in name, and I think they know they have to draft elsewhere. But this team absolutely could take a running back that they let push Rachaad White because he's such a piss poor rusher. but they trust him and love him so much in pass pro. I don't know. I have to tell myself a little bit of a bear case so I don't end up with like 30%. But I think he's legitimately fine to good at ADP if he secures his role. I don't know. Could be worse. I probably have these guys like this. Man, I'm spoiled. The little board earlier was so much faster. Like, I think I was picking at the 8 or 9 hole and just whipped. I missed a pick. I auto drafted DeAndre Hopkins, who I just need to do my ranks and remove him from my ranks. Is what I should do. Because like, good God. I'm like, I didn't want to end up with 194 Hopkins just because it whipped around so fast and I was taking the trash out that I got caught with my pants down. Come on, let me get my stack. DeAndre Hopkins snap pick. I hope you have Lamar. Okay, they do have Lamar. Cool. I get my little stack. Jaden Daniels, Zach Ertz. Maybe they draft Jalen Noel. I don't know. Pretty okay team so far, outside of the handcucking because if it was round 6 and round 10 handcuck, that'd be one thing. It was round 5, so I really think that fucked me. But at least, again, 4 to 12 advanced structure, so I have margin for error. And I'm not going to take a second or a third quarterback, most likely, so that's fine. How was everybody's Easter weekend? What'd you do? What'd you eat? Did you have fun? Did you not have fun? Are you glad to be back at work Monday? I wasn't. We had a monsoon, a thunderous monsoon here today. So I made work awesome. Also, I've got to piss, and they are being so slow. Also, if you missed it, announced it with Tom earlier during our first draft on the stream. Fantasy Sanctuary, hosted by yours truly. We'll be doing an NFL watch party for the draft Thursday night, all of round 1. A lot of special guests: PPR Tyler, Best Ball Guy, Cody from Off the Schneid, Pat from Fantasy Dog Pound, Candyman, Chris, and a few others popping in to give us their thoughts, and live reactions. Should be fun. Thunderous Monsoon was also my name of my band in college. Good name. Dude, I was hammering the little boards at work. It was such a boring, dull, send an email, wait. And then the rain hit, so I couldn't even walk around the quad. I had to pace around the office, up and down the stairwell. I was ripping little boards. It was good. And then I got stuck in an in-person meeting, and I propped it up on there on the laptop, and I'm just like, but then I had to stop for like 2 hours, and I was like, oh, I want to draft. And we're back. Almost on the clock in the 17th round, 2572 build. I would gladly take Harold Fannin as my third and last tight end in this build. Ben, this is his guy, Harold Fannin. At least TK is going to snap pick. 2761 build with Achan, Hampton, Chuba, Tyrone. Talk about fucking robust. My God. Fuck Cooler is asking, what is your plan post-draft? Going to hit BBM early? Yes. Yeah, like we're going to be live Monday, so day 1 of the contest. Probably rip 2 BBMs day 1. We had 2 BBM finalists from day 1 of the draft. Snap pick Harold Fannin. We are done at the onesies. Running back, receiver left for us. So 2 finalists of BBM 5 made it from day 1. So I think really and truly, and I know guys like Liam and others have said that the value of BBM is probably within the first 24 hours before ADPs have changed. I remember the first week of BBM last year, you get Trey McBride like in the 10th and 9th round. Was truly fantastic. I shared this on Typeful Tower last week, I believe, where no, or maybe it was Cody's 12-hour marathon stream from Saturday, where you want to hammer the first 24 hours of BBM with a good amount of volume and just basically fade the fourth plus round rookies until we get camp news. They're really just historically bad bets to matter for the most part, outside of like maybe a final week pop, like we saw with like Tez Walker and Troy Franklin, who did catch touchdowns in the finals, but were pretty shit for the rest of the year. So from an advance rate perspective and then a playoff perspective, if you're going to draft the first 24 hours, just kind of fade the later round rookies for solid vets with roles who don't suck. Preferably, we're going to take Lloyd here as our 6th running back. Feels prudent. So yeah, that's the plan, is to get a few on stream and a few in general in BBM the first 24 hours of ADP, and then just kind of trickle it with info and try to hammer it the most volume late to just really get the biggest edge of, all the camp news, injuries, etc. Because I think you've got just 2 opportunities for like nut outcome outside of like stale ADPs and like just getting lucky. Is we've had winners from June, July, and August, but 2 finalists from the first day, and then a lot of the best performers for the most part, most information, and just like the pockets of information. So like, the first parts of camp, the install parts of camp, and then preseason. So just hammering those pockets. That's a good one, Disbanded. How many 250s did I do? Trying to fill one late tonight. I think someone asked me earlier if I still had one. I'm pretty sure I do. I don't know if I'm going to do another one. How many do I have? I've got 2 left. Maybe. I probably shouldn't, but I'm thinking about it. Harold Fannin says it's Harold Fannin time. It's post Fannin time. Correctamundo. Bring the duck-footed man to me. Hartman asking, do I think any day 3 running backs could be more viable this year with the perceived strength of the class? I don't know about more. I would say more likely they matter, but I don't know if more are going to matter because there are only so many spots, and a bunch of these guys are going to suck. A bunch of these guys are going to get hurt or piss their coaches off or not grasp the role, or just they're not going to be better than the guy in front of them. Your Trey Benson and your Blake Corums behind, the steady vet. I think there's never been a better year since like 2017 to take shots on later guys who could hit. I think the best odds are these day 3 guys to take day 3 or day 2 guys last year's class who were worse. Your Wrights, your Allens, your who's the other shitty? Who am I forgetting? It was Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Braylon Allen. Those are like the big 3 that come to mind of like they could easily lose their job to those guys. Or just guys that could like more day 3 guys who could like hit with more usage or more big spike weeks than we think, just because so many had, I think all but 2 running backs that ran at the combine had like awesome to good speed scores. Injuries are really going to dictate how many actually see the field. Yeah, every year I try to be a smarter, better drafter, but especially with like the things that truly matter and can truly move the needle. We'll take Tutu as our last receiver, little LA stack with Devontae Adams, and then we will finish out this draft with our 7th and last running back. Who should I take? I truly don't care. I will let y'all decide. And I'm too lazy to put a poll up. So just shout if any of the guys I put in the queue All right. Those are the guys I put in the queue. Who am I taking? Jarquez. Did I miss Jarquez? I take a lot of Jarquez. I think Jarquez went. Yeah, Hunter went. Otherwise, I would have put him in the queue. He'd been like top 3 in my queue. I need more rookies, bro. I mean, I have 3. I don't disagree with you. It's just how the board fell. This guy sucked up a lot of my favorites right in front of me. So what are you going to do? I like the guys I took. We're probably going to take another one. Taj. I think Taj just went. LeQuint. The most PPR scam scat back of the... I think Sanders is the highest ADP, and I think he was higher than... I think he was decently high in Daniel Jeremiah's stuff. Keaton? God damn it. You can make me take Keaton? I think Mitchell just went. Yeah, Mitchell just went with all the coach speak. This is a Clint or Sanders. No one said Sanders. It annoys me. Fine, I'll take LeQuint because it's the only guy on the board of all the guys you mentioned. Benjamin saying there's not enough upside without 7. Well, I don't think that's true. 10 rookies won the big board. I don't know what won the little board too last year. 4 or 12 advance with a 467 final. There's no telling. And then the year before that, I think 2 or 3 rookies were on the winning not BBM, big board. I think it just depends. I'm not reaching for rookies just for the sake of reaching for rookies because plenty of the rookies late are going to be busts. But like looking at the board, like who are the rookies I absolutely had to take? Torrey Horton goes in front of me. I mentioned where was it? DJ Giddens goes in front of me. Egbuka. I wanted Egbuka over Hawkinson there. So I mean, it's just I think upside is relative. And I took year 2 guys in running back and at wide receiver. And I think how they're layered. And then Hawkinson, a year removed from injury. I disagree that rookies are the only way you get upside. They're not the only way you get upside. Yeah, I wanted Rocket out of the guys I had to, but no one commented him until it was too late. I'm going to note this was a stream draft. 2783 build, finishing it out. Yeah, I think I would have had it. I would have rather had Sanders over LeQuint, but I probably take Sanders over LeQuint more often, so it's probably not a bad thing to mix it up. They're both probably dust balls. Donovan Edwards for Jesus Christ. Dude, Greg Roman is gonna absolutely also, as you can see, I keep getting busy and autoing people I don't want. Although I pulled out the auto Mahomes with Hollywood Brown and Kelsey double. So it could have been worse. The Rice-worthy double tapper got pissed off at me and took Stafford ahead of me, thinking that he was sniping me, and I gladly took Penix instead. Well, I would love to give you another little board, but I don't want to encroach on my good friends' streams coming up. I am absolutely full to the brim in my bladder, and I do need to walk the dogs. The good boy and good girl do need their time in the sunshine. Benjamin saying, I agree with what you said. I drafted like this last year. If you don't take enough rookies in the contest, you're dead. If the class is awesome, love the content. If the class is awesome, maybe, probably. The class could be awesome and they could still miss out time. Like Tank Dell, great example of a rookie who smashed, but because he got hurt in the finals, he didn't matter. I think it depends for sure. I lean rookies more than likely for the most part, but I think we're gonna have a lot of stuff that's gonna go out and sift its way out. I don't think you're dead necessarily because at the end of the day, construction matters more than anything. And then just player textures and when they hit are going to matter more than anything else. I think the only thing that keeps me a little bit dead is the fact that I have an expensive handcuck that I did to myself. So if anything, that's the most dead. No, you're good. Yeah, we did little board, so a little bit different. I agree that in big board you'd like a few more rookies, especially the late guys. But appreciate everybody. I am also excited for BBM. We will be right back here on this channel Thursday night for the NFL draft watch party. So come join us there. Live reactions. Folks are gonna be drinking, having a good time, talking mess. It's gonna be a blast. And then we'll be back Monday drafting Best Ball Mania. The first 24 hours, we'll be drafting that here. So come check us out. Appreciate you. Leave a like, leave a comment. Who is rising the most after Thursday's draft? Who is going to shock us during the watch party? Who's going round one that none of us are seeing coming? Can't wait. Appreciate everybody. Shout out everybody who was hanging out in the chat. Have a great day and catch you next time. Peace.